welcome to a pre-Thanksgiving holiday edition of Second City Sports right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Real live and in living color, along with my co-host, Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I'm Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. If you can catch any of our other 5 live shows, including this one, Second City Sports. You can watch and listen to us. If you missed any of our shows, that's okay. You can go back and catch any of our archive shows and listen and watch them at your own leisure. And this is a perfect time with them being the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. If you missed any of our shows and want to listen to them or watch them again, you can do so by downloading that Sports Zone Chicago app. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, you can go to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. Once again, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Sports Zone Chicago. If you want to catch the a podcast version of our show, Second City Sports, you can subscribe to War on Anchor. We're available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. Make sure you type in those search engine boxes on those podcast platforms, WARR on Anchor. Make sure you follow War Media at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, at WARR Media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. Lakeena, we weren't on the air yesterday because, one, we don't broadcast our show on Tuesdays, and number two, there was some breaking news that came out of Hallis Hall yesterday. Of course, Mark Conkle, for those of you that have been sleeping under a rock, he's an independent journalist, and he tweeted it out yesterday. He had a source that cited that Matt Nagy was notified on Monday about his upcoming firing. And of course, the Bears play tomorrow against the Detroit Lions. We'll give you a quick preview of that coming up, but according to Conco's tweet, Matt Nagy was notified on Monday that he'll be fired following tomorrow's game, no matter the result between the Bears and the Lions. Of course, the Bears are 3-7 on the year, and of course, listening to the press conference yesterday, of course, Matt Nagy denied that report, and of course, the Bears. Unless you know something I don't know, Keena, the Bears organization said nothing. I don't know about you. But that old saying goes as follows: something's rotten in Denmark. We got to find out the bottom of this.
Nah, if someone's rotten the state of Denmark, that's what that's what
you know what I mean.
Yeah, right. But you know what though, this whole thing is just a little bit weird. I mean, this is Mount Carco, he's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. He does mostly politics and things like that. So the fact that he, apparently a source supposedly told him that they're gonna fire Nagy after the Lions game tomorrow, and but it's all kind of just weird. I don't know if it's because they didn't mean to get to, it was supposed to get leaked, but it got leaked anyway, or maybe there's no truth to it. This was be something that the Bears wouldn't do, but they probably wouldn't. The Bears wouldn't do this in the middle of the season. You still got about 6 or 7 games left in the season, so it's a little bit weird that they would do this. That's not really their thing, but we've seen it happen before. We know Scott Skiles, famously got fired, when he was coach with the Bulls on Christmas Day, and Tim Floyd, like that week before Christmas, he got fired. So it's not unprecedented, but again, this whole thing just seems a little bit kind of like, it's a very Bears, I'll say that.
If you have any questions or comments during our show today of any of our topics, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Place your comments or questions in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll or do anything stupid, Lakeena will politely give you the boot.
Bye.
I love saying that. Let's see if we can get the Bears organization to boot on this one, Lakeena. If you're, and we talked about this in the earlier segment on Sean and Maya in the morning in their last segment of the show, and I know Sean was talking about if the Bears wanted to fire and get rid of Nagy now, then you should have gone ahead and do so. You would have had the special teams coach who spoke yesterday. It was Ryan. He spoke first before Nagy did because of the short week. You would have had the special teams coach tomorrow's game. But as I said on Sean and Maya in the morning earlier today, it's all about optics with the Bears. And like you said, it's not the first time that a professional head coach has been fired on a holiday. As you mentioned, Scott Scouts, Tim Ford. I believe Bill Cartwright was fired around the holiday time as well. I know
Hmm.
many companies and teams are sensitive to that, especially during this time of year. But it hasn't been the first. Unfortunately, it probably won't be the last. But you mentioned that the Bears organization, they just fumbled this thing throughout this whole process. We all know, in real time, Nagy should have been fired uh, um, weeks ago. And I don't know if you caught this tweet, Lakeena. I know Sean mentioned this on his show this morning that Kaylin Kaler. No, she used to
Hmm.
work with Sports Illustrated. I forget where she's at now, but she tweeted out that, according to her sources, that Justin Fields wasn't happy running the scout team when Andy Dalton was named the starter for the season opener against the Los Angeles Rams. As we told you guys on this show, Justin Fields should have been the starter from day one because he's your quarterback of the future. But we told you guys that Andy Dalton would be the starter because Ryan Pace, the GM, who doesn't get enough heat in this town, he has something
Right.
to write on this as well because remember he signed Andy Dalton first before a month before the draft to that $10 million contract. Of course, at the
Right.
time, no one knew that the Bears were maneuvering the draft to get Justin Fields, and we congratulate Mr. Pace on that. But it just wouldn't look right if you're the Bears organization to sit Andy Dalton with a $10 million price tag that you signed to during free agency. And as we said before, Lakeena, remember I told you this during training camp and during preseason. Do I trust Matt Nagy to develop Justin Fields? And remember, I told you no. And look what's happening now. Look what happened last year.
Right.
Matt Nagy threw in Nick Foles, and Nick Foles all but one game threw at least one interception in all of his appearances last year, and he couldn't wait to do the same thing to stab Justin Fields in the back, threw in Andy Dalton. Now Andy Dalton hasn't done that poorly, but let's be honest here, he's past his prime. Yes, he knows the offense, but he's not the same quarterback as he has been early in his career. And so Matt Nagy's hands are in all this, but you throw some haymakers at Ryan Pace as well.
Yeah, and that's our buddy Armando. What's up, Armando? Happy pre-Thanksgiving Eve.
Yes.
He says the whole situation with the Nagy firing is just as a bad look on this organization. It's inept. Well, yeah, you pretty much covered it,
Yeah.
Armando. And look, I think this would definitely be a very Bearsy thing where they, yeah, where yes, they probably had a plan, but then it got leaked, and it wouldn't be look. It wouldn't surprise me if whether or not they win this game against the Lions tomorrow. I kind of feel like at this point, I think they probably will still keep him until the end of the season. Especially like you said, I saw that report that you were referring to, Sid, that it was George McCaskey that made the decision that Justin Fields should be the starting QB. I mean,
Mhm.
it seems like no one's really on the same page at this point. So, yes, Nagy, if should Nagy get fired, but look, I think you could honestly say that Pace should be getting fired as well.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and this is what brings up my next point. As you're listening to Second City Sports Live in 11 color on a pre-Thanksgiving edition, on right here on Sports on Chicago City, Lakeena here with you as we talk about the Chicago Bears and their upcoming game tomorrow against the Detroit Lions, 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time on Fox. Well, here's the thing about Ryan Pace. Yes, he's made some good picks in the later rounds, but in the first round, especially early in his tenure, he's missed on the majority of them. I'll give him Roquan Smith, okay, and that's only a recent first round pick that I can think of that has really panned out for the Bears. I know he's looking for cash pretty soon in his contract extension, but
Hmm.
yeah, like you said, it pays is headed out the door. So be it. This is the professional leagues, and you get it done and you don't. And he's been on the helm now 7 years, and
Hmm.
so he has more than enough time to get a couple of draft classes in there and see what happened. See what happened. Not much has happened in terms of his first round picks. Now his later round picks, as we mentioned, we can go down the line, have panned out for the most part with Khalil Herbert, David Montgomery's second round pick, and you can go on down the line throughout the years. He's done well with those, but the first round picks has not panned out, with the exception of Roquan Smith these last couple of years. Now, which brings me to this. George McCaskey, Ted Phillips. Ted Phillips, your director of finance, he's been president for the last 20 years because he got that spaceship through the city of Chicago to uh, put there in place in the original colonnades at Soldier Field. Now, both those guys are not football decision makers. As I said before, the McCaskies, they're great decision makers when it comes to business. When it comes to football, they don't have it. My question is whether these reports are true or not, whether Nagy stays on till Monday or to the end of the regular season when you finish up against the Giants on January 10th. Will they put their egos to the side? Will they completely step out of the way, hire a football person, let that football person hire the right people to get this organization back on its winning track? I don't know if I could trust them to do that. I know it's their business. They can do whatever the hell they want, but can they step to the side and hire the right person to head football operations, let that person pick their head coach and general manager and go on from there? Right now, I don't have the confidence that they can do that.
Well, they're not football people. I think we've known this for years about the
Mm-hmm.
McCaskies, and I think they need to. Some people have said that maybe perhaps maybe bring in like a Peyton Manning or somebody like that to kind of run your football
Or
operations.
Lewis
But
Riddick from
yeah, somebody,
ESPN.
yeah, or somebody of that ilk. But I mean, do you really trust the McCaskies to make the right decision? I mean, they haven't done it yet, so I honestly don't know at this point. I mean, the season's a wash, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I know there might be some people that legitimately think that the Bears still have a shot of making the playoffs. Those couple of wild card spots. I think those folks are a little bit cuckoo. But I feel but yeah, I mean, like I feel like, just try to finish strong. And look, unfortunately Fields will not be able to play today because of the bruised ribs. So it looks like it will be Andy Dalton starting, and Jared Goff. I know he's been questionable, but it looks like he is going to be. Dan Campbell said he will be able to play. We got DeAndre Swift, who actually didn't really couldn't get the running game going in the Bears' first meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So some people are saying that maybe the Lions might have a shot to get their first actual win of the season. I mean, it would be very Bears that of course the Bears would embarrass themselves on national television. I apologize to the Fox crew with Happy Thanksgiving, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck and Aaron Andrews. I believe Christine Manika will be there too, since she's usually there for their Thursday games. But I feel sorry for for the folks, those folks, because you know you're going to be talking about a lot of stuff off the field, which this might be an ugly game. So my apologies to everybody who will be watching this game.
You know with the headline of Matt Nagy possibly being fired following the game tomorrow. You know who takes the pressure off of partially? Like you
Who?
mentioned, Dan Campbell, the head coach of the Detroit
Yeah. Oh
Lions. So of
yeah.
course, as we said before the season started, his comedy routines, they're getting old and thin real quick with those Detroit Lions fans. Of course, they knew that their team weren't going to be good this year, but I'm sure they expect them to be winless at this point in the season. Now, we talked about Dan Campbell's game plan against the Rams a few weeks ago, and they kept them in it. Of course, the Rams made a couple big plays to win that game. Does Dan Campbell have something in mind tomorrow as far as trickery is concerned? Because we all know, going back to the Bears, and there was also a report that the locker room has been more than divided now, especially after the loss against the Ravens. But if you're Dan Campbell, do you have something up your sleeve? It may not be special teams, but could it be a wildcat formation? Could it be, who knows? But I got a feeling that it has some kind of trickery up their sleeve.
You might see a couple of those trick plays. Maybe he'll, do maybe a fake punt, or maybe a fake, field goal. I mean, you might as well do it right, and you might as well do it. And
Hmm.
you're gonna have the spotlight to yourselves for a few hours, so you might try. He might try to do some weird, like, maneuvering here. But look, I think Detroit's near the bottom in most of the stats, and but so are the Bears. So you gotta hope that maybe we'll see Robert Quinn. Maybe he'll have another big game, and slow down Jared Goff, and some same with Roquan Smith. It's really gonna be the defense that's probably gonna keep the Bears in it. Now, can they get the offense going? We'll see. I mean, you saw a little bit of that with Andy Dalton, but again, it doesn't look like A Rob will be able to play, and some of the other guys might be out as well. Are they gonna depend on David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert in the running game? That's going to be the key. And look, the weather won't be a factor because you're indoors, but
Hmm.
could we maybe see the battle of the running backs? Could it be David Montgomery versus DeAndre Swift? And we'll see what happens. I kind of feel like, again, this is going to be one of those really ugly games. And so again, I apologize to everybody who's going to be watching this game tomorrow at 11:30. But Yeah, so I think that's going to be the key here for me.
You're listening to the pre-Thanksgiving edition of Second City Sports. We're live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakeena with you as we preview Bears Lions. They'll be the first game up tomorrow on Fox at 11:30 a.m. Chicago time. Lakeena, let's go back to the Bears offense and the running game. After that first drive in last week's loss to the Ravens, they didn't commit to the run as much as I thought they would. And of course, David Montgomery didn't get the yardage that I thought he should have received. The same with Khalil Herbert. But you would
Hmm.
think they will take the pressure off of Andy Dalton because let's be honest here. Those 2 touchdown throws, he was lucky. We all know that he can't scramble. He's never been a scrambler. He's not Justin Fields. But you would think they
Hmm.
would run the ball a little bit more to take the pressure off him because the Bears have him in shotgun almost 95% of the time. And also, you would think that even though Justin Fields started to do this the last couple of weeks, do you think that the Bears could get the tight ends involved? Ali Cole Komet.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, you wonder, are we going to be seeing? Are we going to see Cole Komet and maybe perhaps dare I say Jimmy Graham? I mean, well, we'll see. I mean, like I said before, I mean the running game. I think hopefully they will. They will depend on the run game a little bit more. They won't have to do that. Have to depend on the throw, especially if you don't want Andy Dalton to be the one scrambling, because, like you said before, he's never been a scrambler. So it's gonna be very interesting to see if the Bears decided to do to go on by the running game a little bit more. And look, the Lions run defense isn't very good. So we may see, Herbert and Montgomery had big games today. But then again, look, strange things happen in these Thanksgiving Day games in Detroit. So, we just don't know.
Yeah, I know the Bears won a couple years ago when they were in 2018 when they had that great record. Battle the backup quarterbacks. I forgot who was on the other side of the Lions, but we had Chase Daniel, and the Bears won that one thanks to Eddie Jackson's pick six toward the end of that game. But this go around, Lakeena, I'm looking at the Bears defense, and especially in the secondary department. I know they're led by Jalen Johnson. I don't think Eddie Jackson is going to play tomorrow. But besides Jalen Johnson's comments following last Sunday's game, he is their best secondary player. But even though the Bears secondary has been awful this year at times, you would think they could take advantage of the lack of playmakers from the wide receiver position for the Detroit Lions. You would think.
Right. And you would think, I mean, I think you gotta, take advantage of that run defense, if the Bears, and maybe you can, have a big game from, like I said before, from both Herbert and Montgomery. Now, of course, we know Fields didn't practice, Hicks didn't practice, A
Mhm.
Rob didn't practice either, and neither did Damian Williams. Eddie Jackson was limited, so was Darnell Mooney. So we'll see what their status is later today. But I think you got to think with a short week, some of those guys will not be able to play tomorrow. So I think that's going to be the key. So, but it also too, if you're the Lions, you think this might be your best shot at getting, and perhaps maybe getting your first win this season. So, look, this is, like I said before, this is usually, look, these type of games are usually weird spell. So
Mhm.
it's all going to depend on, what game are we going to see a Bears team that kind of rallies around their coach, or are we going to see the same old? So this is good. It's going to get a little bit. This is where it gets a little bit interesting there. If I think it is, if you're a Bears fan, and are you cheering for a loss? I think that's what some people are saying. Like, maybe go out with a whimper, I guess. So we'll see.
Here, and I want to. I'm glad you brought up that point. Here's the dilemma here for the Bears. If you're a Bears fan, are you cheering for them to lose to see that report is true that Matt Nagy will be fired on Monday? Because if you cheer for them to lose as far as draft position, that's a no because the New York Giants owns that first
Yep,
round pick thanks to the
they don't have
draft
it.
day
Yep,
trade
yep,
for Justin Fields. So you can forget about that first round pick. On the flip side, if you're the Bears, as we say every year, Lakina, the teams that are struggling and not going to the playoffs, they still have something to play for, i.e., their jobs, whether it's on the same team they are currently employed or they're playing for
right.
somebody else next year. With the Bears, even though that scenario is true, will they be playing for themselves, regardless of what's going to happen with Matt Nagy following tomorrow's game? So, are they going to play for themselves, or and just go out and you never want to see a team go out and have ass, excuse my French, but do you think they would just play more for themselves? And if the reports are true, which I believe they are, that locker room's been divided, will they just go play for themselves and see what happens?
Yeah, I see what Amando's saying that I never want to see the Bears lose. And look, look, there are some people who feel the way you do, Armando, but there are others
Mhm,
that feel like, hey, let's keep losing, but like you said, I mean, the first round draft pick isn't an issue because they don't have a first round draft pick. So
mhm.
you're basically just losing, for nothing. So look, it is going to be very interesting to see how this team responds. Will they rally around each other and kind of like try to maybe rally around their coach. Or like I said, are we going to be seeing the same old, where we're going to have, the defense give up some big plays or, you know, maybe, Dalton gets, throws a pick six or something. I mean, we just don't know. And look, it seems like there's a lot of like, comedy of errors, like we talked about with Sean earlier on his show. And
Yeah.
that's really going to be the thing. Like, are we going to be seeing like, like like the juggling act, get the circus music going. So I think this is going to be the thing.
As we said before, the second half of the season for the Bears, whether Matt Nagy is coaching after tomorrow's game or not, this is the development of Justin Fields. I assume he's going to start the next game, which will be December, I believe, the 3rd or the 2nd against the Arizona Cardinals
Mhm.
after tomorrow's game. So hopefully Mr. Fields will be healthy by then. He's your starter for the rest of the season, of course, going into the future. So the rest of the season is about the development of Justin Fields and it's an audition for the new coaching staff, whoever that person may be.
Yeah, it's basically a wash at this point now. Like you said
Hmm.
before, it's gonna be, especially if you're a Rob, you're like, okay, I'm not coming back the rest of the season. I don't want to, risk getting injured. If you're one of these guys that's on contract, if you're a Hicks, if you're, those guys, I mean, where are you at? Because that's gonna be a lot of dead money coming off the books, next year. So, do you want to try to maybe perhaps, maybe try and see if you can kind of, make yourself look good, for your next team, or you're going to try to say, look, I'm not risking getting hurt. So,
On the flip side, we'll preview the top games for tonight, tomorrow, and for Saturday in the world of college football. And we'll get into a whole lot more other stuff as well coming up next hour with our NFL picks. And we'll talk about the Chicago Bulls and the rest of the NBA. You're listening to a special pre-Thanksgiving edition of Second City Sports, live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. Stay right there.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. Rumors swirling that Bears head coach Matt Nagy could be fired after tomorrow's game. It's an 11:30 a.m. kickoff at Detroit. The Lions are 0-9-1. The Bears looking to snap a 5-game losing skid. When asked about it, Nagy said,
"That is not accurate. I have not. I have great communication with ownership, with George and Ted and Ryan, but I have not had any discussions."
On the NBA scoreboard tonight, the Bulls visit the Rockets. Chicago 12-6, third in the Eastern Conference. The Rockets just 1-16. They've lost 15 straight. NHL on Tuesday, the Flames beat the Blackhawks 5-2. Reese Johnson and Brendan Hagel with the goals for Chicago. 34 saves for Marc-Andre Fleury. The Hawks dropped to 6-11-2. They'll take on the Blues Friday afternoon at United Center. It's a noon puck drop. For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
O'Reilly. When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away. We offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. Order online and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. We'll even bring it out curbside. Or you can have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Finally, a bed that senses snoring and automatically responds. Meet the Ergo Smart Base from Tempur-Pedic, our first system that detects snoring, then automatically adjusts by raising the bed. Get your best sleep all night, every night. Now, save up to $500 on select adjustable mattress sets during the Tempur-Pedic Black Friday event. Get full offer details at TempurPedic.com.
Welcome back to the pre-Thanksgiving edition of Second City Sports, live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid the Kid, along with Miss Lakeena McGee. Lakeena, let's get into previewing, the Week 13 action of college football. But last night, we had a score that involved our local team, and that was the Northern Illinois Huskies. They dropped one to the Western Michigan by the score of 42-21. Ellaby for Western Michigan was 21. Caleb Ellaby, I should say, was
Yes.
21 and 26 for Western Michigan for 338 yards and 5 touchdown passes. Sean Tyler for Western Michigan, their star running back, he had 17 carries for 115 yards in the touchdown. And Sky Moore was the player of the game for Western Michigan with 12 catches for 206 yards and 4 touchdowns. Lakeena, the game was over by halftime, and it wasn't even close. I know Northern Illinois put up a couple of touchdowns late, but they're still going to play in the MAC conference championship game next month in Detroit. They have a record of now 8-4. We said that Northern Illinois could run the table to finish out with a great record, but last night did not look good.
Yeah, that was probably their worst game in the last few weeks. But look, they're still they won their division in the MAC West, so they're still gonna play. And also too, I think they still got they'll be playing either Miami or Kent State. They still gotta play this weekend to seal that victory. But but you know what though, look, it happens. So not if you're a Huskies fan, you shouldn't be too too worried about that. You're still in the MAC championship game regardless. But tomorrow on Thanksgiving, it's rivalry week here in week 13 of the college football season. You got the Egg Bowl coming up. You got the Ole Miss versus Mississippi State. So where do you see that game?
Big game for both teams. Mississippi State trying to improve their record to 5-3 in conference play. They're currently now 4-3 in conference and 7-4 overall. But I think Ole Miss has a little bit something up their sleeve. They're ranked number 9th in the nation, 5-2 in the SEC, 9-2 overall. But I'm looking for a great quarterback play from Will Rogers. He has 34 touchdown passes over on the year. He has over 4,100 yards passing. But watch out for running back Jerion Ely. He has 5 touchdowns on the year off 105 carries. But I think the running game is going to be key for Ole Miss tomorrow, because we know Mississippi State can bring it on defense. But I think Ole Miss just has just a little bit more talent on the offensive side.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun there, as it usually is with the Egg Bowl. Boise State and San Diego State. San Diego State trying to keep their gold in the MAC in the Mountain West, I should say.
This game will be on Friday.
Yes, on Friday. So a lot of great games. The post Thanksgiving day games on Friday. Let's see. You've got a lot of Cincy. They're finally in the top 4 in the college football playoff. Yay! So they sent a little bit of a message there to the committee, and I'm glad that. As long as they don't F it up, as long as they don't wet the bed, I think they'll be fine in that respect. Your top 4 right now: Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, and Cincy. You got Michigan at number 5, and also 2 Notre Dame at number 6. So those are your top 6 right now. Oklahoma State, also Baylor, Ole Miss, and Oklahoma. Those are your top 10. So.
Yeah, as we said, things change every week with the top 10, and especially with the college football playoff. I expect things to change slightly this weekend, as we'll get to more big games that we have to review with you guys. So, as we said before, Lakeena, with the rankings coming out a couple of weeks ago, this is not the final straw. We talk about this every year, so things are going to change slightly this weekend. So, as you mentioned, tomorrow at 2:30 on ABC, Cincinnati, number 4, will travel to East Carolina. They're 7-4, but like I said, Cincinnati should not mess this up. They should go ahead and take care of business, and things should be okay in that department. Another game on Fox tomorrow, number 19 ranked Utah.
Friday.
Did you say Friday? Yeah. Did I say tomorrow? Okay, I said Friday. My apologies. That's why you here. Friday on Fox at 3 o'clock, we'll have number 19 Utah. They'll host the 4-7 Colorado Buffaloes. Can Utah build off that momentum with that upset win last week against Oregon?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But they shouldn't have any troubles with Colorado. Colorado has had their struggles this year. So, it shouldn't be a big issue there. You got North Carolina and North Carolina State at 6 o'clock on ESPN. And that should be a fun one. North Carolina State trying to, I think they're trying to seal their victory in the Atlantic Division, so they can't afford to lose that game. So, and if not, it'll be interesting. We'll see if Mac Brown's Tar Heels can play spoiler for them. And you got the Apple Cup. You got Wazoo and Washington. That's a 7 o'clock game on Friday on FS1.
Yeah, and one more game to give a quick preview for you guys. Friday at 2:30 p.m. on CBS, SEC matchup. 6-5 Missouri Tigers. They'll travel to Arkansas to take on the 25th ranked Razorbacks. They are 7-4, of course. Arkansas lost by 10 at Alabama last week. They were competitive, but they just came up just short. They're favored by 14.5. I look for Arkansas to get back on track to finish out the year strong and improve their record to 8-4.
Yeah, should be a fun one between those two. And Missouri with a big win against Florida, so you got to think, will they have a letdown game against Arkansas? We'll wait and see. Also, too, at 12:30 on Big Ten Network, you got Iowa and Nebraska. Iowa's hoping that they can sneak into the Big Ten West title, but it looks like Adrian Martinez will not play. I think he's banged up, so we'll see. We'll see if Nebraska will play spoiler again.
I was going to ask you, is Iowa on upset alert?
I think they should, but like I said before, AJ Martinez is out for Nebraska, so he's kind of like the real X factor. So I don't think that Iowa should have any issues with Nebraska, but again, you never know. Okay, the first games on the Saturday slate. All right, a lot of in-state rivalries here. You got Georgia at Georgia Tech. That's an 11 a.m. game on ABC. I know they're in Atlanta this year, so I know Georgia Tech's 3-8. Hopefully, they shouldn't have any problems with Georgia Tech. Georgia. So hopefully they can not wet the bed and keep it up until last game.
Yeah, you're correct. And Georgia's favored by 35 points even.
All right.
Now, let's get to the big game of the week as somebody's trying to interfere with my broadcasting here. Those pop-up ads, they're so annoying. Let's go to the big news Saturday game. They'll be on Fox, of course, on Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. The number 2 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes will travel to the Big House to take on the number 5 ranked team in the nation, the Michigan Wolverines. Ohio State is favored by 8 points. Of course, you have stars all over the field, in particular for Ohio State, C.J. Stroud, and you also have Trevion Henderson, the star running back, and then you have Jackson Smith, the stud wide receiver for Ohio State. We know Michigan throughout the years, especially under Jim Harbaugh, can bring it on the defensive side, but offensively, it's going to be a challenge. And I think early for the Michigan defense, they're going to have to force turnovers on CJ Stroud and Ohio State. We all know they could put up points in a hurry. They did so, going up 21-0 on Michigan State in the Horseshoe. But right now, Michigan, they got their work cut out for them, and I just don't see any way that Michigan they can keep this game close. They had to play near perfect football. They're gonna have to run it a lot, and they're gonna have to create some pressure on CJ Stroud, force a couple of turnovers. If they could do that, I think they can stay in this game. But I'm going with Ohio State in a close one, and so I think Ohio State can pull out a close win by a field goal. So I know they're favored by 8 points, as I just mentioned, but I think Ohio State will unfortunately pull it out in the end. I'm personally rooting for Michigan. Michigan has lost their last 8 games to Ohio State, but it's going to be a classic game. But I think Ohio State will do just enough to win in the Big House. You're listening to Second City Sports, the pre-Thanksgiving edition, live and in living color. I'm Sydney Brown. Lakeena McGee hopefully will join us shortly, as she has some technical issues. If you have any questions or comments regarding this topic for this half-hour college football, you can do so by going to our Facebook page at Sports Zone Chicago or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Place your questions and comments in the comment section. I will get them up on the screen for you. Continuing with our schedule for Saturday at 11 a.m. on FS1, we'll have 6-5 Texas Tech. The Red Raiders will travel to number 8 Baylor to face the Bears. Of course, Baylor is favored by 2 touchdowns. Baylor has been climbing up the charts these last couple of weeks. They upset Oklahoma a couple of weeks ago. Of course, Baylor has a 6-2 record in the Big 12, 9-2 overall. Texas Tech will try to play spoiler. Let's see. With the star quarterback for Baylor. Let's see what Jerry Bohannon can do. Of course, he has 17 touchdown passes on the year. And also look out for their star running back, Abram Smith. He has 11 rushing touchdowns on the year. So Baylor, we all know that in the Big 12, the offense is power, and Baylor's no exception to that. And so we'll see what Baylor can do against Texas Tech. On ESPN2 at the same time at 11 a.m. on Saturday, number 18 Wake Forest, after losing at Clemson last week. They posted a 92 record, and they'll travel to Boston College to face the Eagles. Their record's at 6-5 on the year. So we'll see if Wake Forest can bounce back. I expect them to. They should have no problems with. As I get my screen up together here, they should have no problems with Boston College. Okay. Continuing with the 11 a.m. part of the schedule, we'll have Florida State at 5-6. The Seminoles will face the Florida Gators. They're also in at 5-6. That's a Florida State rivalry. Both these teams have struggled this year. I know that Florida is favored by 2.5. I wouldn't be surprised if Florida State pulled off the upset, but I think Florida will have enough to get it done. Going down the other part of the schedule at 11:30 on Saturday on ESPN3, we have 6-5 Miami. DU will travel to Duke to face the Blue Devils. They'll be 3. They have a record of 3-8 on the season. Miami is favored by 21.5 points. Miami's been having quarterback issues all year. De'Aaron King is out for the year with an injury. Tyler Van Dyke has filled in nicely for Miami. He has 22 touchdown passes on the season, so Miami shouldn't have no problem with Duke. Continuing with the slate of games, as Lakeena mentioned, is rivalry weekend. We have at 2:30 p.m. on CBS, number 3 Alabama traveling to Auburn to take on the Tigers in the annual Iron Bowl at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Alabama is favored by 19.5 points. Of course, on Alabama's side, you have Bryce Young, the stud quarterback, and also you have the stud running back in Brian Robinson Jr. and stud wide receiver Jamison Williams. Auburn's been one of those disappointing teams for me for college football this year. Of course, it goes back to their starting quarterback. It's been inconsistent all year. You think Auburn's always one of those teams that makes noise in the SEC outside of Alabama, but this year with the 6-5 record, again, consistency has been their problem all year. So I think Alabama should not have a problem with Auburn in this Iron Bowl game. I think it's going to be sort of a classic game, but I think Alabama will have enough to win. At 2:30 p.m. on ESPN, we have the Oregon State Beavers. They are 7-4 on the year, 5-3 in the Pac-12. They'll travel to Oregon to take on the Ducks, who are ranked number 11 in the nation. Of course, Oregon's coming off the loss to Utah last Saturday night. They are 9-2 on the year, 6-2 in the Pac-12. Of course, on Oregon's side, you have stud quarterback Anthony Brown. He has 13 touchdown passes on the year. But watch out for B.J. Baylor, the stud running back for Oregon State. He has 1,200 yards on the year, but he has 12 total rushing touchdowns. And stud wide receiver Travion Bradford, he has 4 touchdown catches off of 527 receiving yards on the year. At the same time, on ABC at 2:30, Penn State, the Nittany Lions at 7-4, 4-4 in the Big Ten. They'll travel to Michigan State to face Mel Tucker Spartans. They are 9-2 and 6-2 in the Big Ten. Penn State is favored by 1 point on the road. I know their head coach, Ben Franklin, has signed a 10-year extension with his contract. With his contract extension, but I think Michigan State is hungry. Of course, they lost to Ohio State last week in embarrassing fashion, and I think that it's going to be a close game. But I think Michigan State is the more hungrier team, and they want to erase that embarrassing loss and that bad taste out of their mouth on the road last week at Ohio State. So I think you should play it smart here and take Michigan State on this one. Next game at 2:30 p.m. on the Big Ten Network. Northwestern, after losing at Wrigley Field last week to Purdue, they'll travel to Champaign to take on Illinois. Of course, Northwestern at a disappointing 3-8 on the season, while the Fighting Illini are at 4-7, 3-5 in the Big Ten. Illinois is favored by 6.5 points. Both teams have been disappointing. More so Northwestern. We thought that they would have a better season after playing in the Big Ten title game a year ago. But Illinois, they can surprise you. I know they hung in tough last week against the Iowa Hawkeyes before losing by 10. But I think they'll carry that momentum into this game in Champaign. Brandon Peters says stud quarterback for Illinois. I know he has only had 6 touchdowns on the year, but I think that he'll do a little bit more to beat Northwestern. Northwestern's just lost at this point this year. They can look ahead to 2022.
Did I miss a big noon Saturday game? Did you preview that already, Sid?
Yes, you did. Now you could give your thoughts before we continue on the schedule. I did say that I think that Illinois. I had Illinois Northwestern. I think Illinois is going to win that one, but I have this sneaky feeling that Ohio State is going to win. I know they're favored by 8 points, but I think Michigan's going to surprise some people and kind of keep it close. But I think Ohio State will win on maybe by 3 or 4 points. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I think, look, Michigan was just like, had they had tried to slow down Kenneth Walker Jr., they probably still be undefeated right now. So if you're Jim Harbaugh, you're wondering, like, if not now, then when? So this is the best opportunity. And so, look, they've got the defense that can slow down C.J. Stroud in that offense for the Buckeyes. So, I'm sure, look, the Big House is going to be rocking in Ann Arbor. And let's just hope for a good game. That's all you can ask for. Texas Tech and Baylor. I mean, that should be a fun one between those two. I know Tech.
Yeah, I picked Baylor to win that one.
That should be a fun one though too. And Baylor, Wake Forest and Boston College. That should be a interesting one there. UT San Antonio hoping to keep their undefeated season alive. They got North Texas. That should be a fun one. The Iron Bowl, Alabama and Auburn. Auburn's had a lot of issues, injuries and such. So Alabama shouldn't really have any trouble.
Yeah, like I said, I picked Alabama as well. As I've been talking about this all year. The inconsistency at the quarterback position for Auburn has been a killer for them all year. So hopefully it's a classic game. But like I said, Alabama should not have a problem.
No, they really shouldn't have any trouble at all. You got Oregon State and Oregon, in Eugene. That's an ESPN game at 2:30. Can Oregon bounce back?
I think they will, but I think Oregon State can surprise some people. But Oregon State should win. Will it be enough for them to get back in the college football playoff race? We'll see about that. But I think they'll be Oregon State.
Should be a fun one there. Oregon State is 7-4, so that should be a fun one between those two teams. Penn State and Michigan State. That's a 2:30 game on ABC.
Yeah, I picked Michigan State for that one. Yeah, I'm surprised that Penn State's favored by 1 point. I think part of it is because of what happened with Michigan State getting their butts kicked at the horseshoe. But
that's what it is.
But I don't see Penn State as being that much better. I don't.
It should be a fun one there, though, still, nonetheless, between those two, as it usually is. I think Illinois should beat Northwestern. I said should, but
again, the Brett Bielema.
Well, you never know with them. Virginia Tech and Virginia, that's an ACC network game, another rivalry game. That should be a fun one. Wisconsin and Minnesota. This could definitely, if Wisconsin wins this game against Minnesota, they get the Big Ten West title. So, you need to, Wisconsin, if you're the Badgers, you can't have any slip-ups here. And Arizona State, that's a 3:00 game. You guys at the Pac-12 network, a couple of great, in-state rivalry there.
Going back to that Wisconsin,
hopefully to make this out.
Yeah, going back to that Wisconsin-Minnesota game going back to the Wisconsin-Minnesota game for a moment. We talked about Wisconsin's turnaround after starting off the season slow, 1-3. They won their last, I believe, 7 games in a row. Do you think that Minnesota has a shot? I think they have a sneaky shot, even though the game will be at home if you're Minnesota. I think they have a sneaky shot.
Yeah, I think Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, I think it's at home, so I think that should help them a little bit. But if you're Wisconsin, I think you can't really afford to have any of the slip ups here. This is
Yeah,
basically for the division, so you better win this game.
yeah. Wisconsin's favored by 7 points even.
All right, Texas A&M and LSU in Ed Orgeron's last game. You think or do you think the Aggies can throw in a little slip up here?
I think Texas A&M, they should have no problem. They're favored by 6.5. Look for their star running back. I'm talking about Texas A&M, Isaiah Spiller, to have a great game.
Yes.
He's almost at 1,000 yards for the season. He has 6 total touchdowns, but I think Texas Tech could surprise LSU by throwing the ball in the air. But I'm looking for Isaiah Spiller to have a great game,
Should
running
be
wise.
fun one here. Got the Bedlam getting the primetime treatment. Got Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. This is in Stillwater this year. 6:30 game on ABC. If you're Oklahoma, you have to win this game to get a shot at the Big 12 title. And if you're Oklahoma State, you feel like you still got an outside shot to perhaps get into the college football playoff should you win the Big 12 championship game next weekend.
Yeah, Spencer Sanders and Jalen Warren will be
Yes.
the star players for Oklahoma State. I think that Oklahoma State can get this one. I'm gonna pick them in an upset. Offense galore is going to rule the day, and I think you're going to get a surprising offensive classic game. I think it's going to come down to if the Cowboys defense can they force a couple of turnovers on the Sooners star quarterback Bryce Young. Sorry, not Bryce Young.
Caleb Williams.
Can't win.
Caleb
Yeah, thank you. I'm
Williams.
thinking about the Alabama guy. Sorry, but can they force a couple of turnovers off of him,
Other guy.
especially early?
Yeah, should be. Look, and should be a fun one. Look, it's still a lot still, to be decided. So, like I said, okay, so you think you still got a shot if you win out. So, a lot to
Hmm.
figure out there still. Clemson and South Carolina. Look, I think Clemson's sort of like, hey, you know what? Hey, okay, yeah, we're not going to win a championship this year, but look, we're
Hmm.
still respectable. They're 8-3. They play South Carolina. A rivalry game should be a fun one on the SEC network.
Yeah, give Dabo Sweeney credit. So no headlines on them this year. The pressure's off. Like you said, this is not the year for them to win the national championship. They're more than a respectable 8-3, and they should be 9-3 by the time Saturday night is over. On ESPN, sorry, not ESPN. Sorry, let's go to the 7 o'clock game on Fox for Saturday. Lakeena on number 6 ranked Notre Dame Friday. Irish will travel to Stanford on the West Coast to take on the Stanford Cardinal. Notre Dame is favored by 19.5. They shouldn't have no problem, right?
No, I mean, look,
She's giving me the
Cardinals
solid
are
treatment.
3-8. Well, I mean, look. Well, let me look. The Stanford's 3-8. I mean, look, David Shaw has his way of upsetting Notre Dame, so I don't know if they'll be able to do it this time, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. Another rivalry game. Kentucky and Louisville, 6:30 on ESPN2. So, Malik Cunningham. If you guys haven't heard of him, he rushed for over 200 yards and rush from I think like 200 yards. They like threw for almost 300 yards. Just the second guy to do
Mhm.
that. So Kentucky's gonna try to have a hard time trying to slow that guy down. But look, that should be a fun one down there at Cardinal Stadium in Louisville. Wrapping it up here, BYU and USC. I mean, I think SC at this point is just trying to finish.
Mhm.
Just trying to finish the season. Also to California and UCLA. That's 9:30 game on FS1 to finish up the Week 13 slate in college football.
Yes, let's see if Chip Kelly can finish strong with an 8-4 record, and they're currently 7-4 right now. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to that Michigan. Notre Dame is overrated.
you,
Yeah,
Armando.
Armando. Yep.
Thank you,
Armando
Armando.
and Lakeena are in the same boat. I have no dog in this fight, so I root against Notre Dame. So I have no dog in this fight. So I guess that makes 3 of us, but it definitely makes the 2 of you, Lakeena and Armando. So I wouldn't disagree with you guys there. Like I said before, I'm looking forward to that Michigan, Ohio State. Michigan, you're in your own backyard at the at the Big House. Jim Harbaugh, I'm not gonna say his job is on the line, but his reputation and his overall career against Ohio State is not good. His record overall against Ohio State since he's come back home to Michigan has not been good. His reputation is on the line here, and Michigan has had a strong season so far, despite that mishap against Michigan State on the road a couple weeks ago. What a way to make a statement by being your biggest rival. That's been a thorn in your side ever since you come back to coach.
Like I said before, if not this season, then when? I mean, this is your perfect
Exactly.
opportunity. And you still got a outside shot of winning the getting into the playoff too, should you do what you're supposed to do. So we'll see. It's like I said before, still a lot to be excited. You get all these great like in-state rivalry games. We talked about it. So it should be a fun week. The last couple weeks in college football. Hopefully we can have somebody on to talk about what they think about the some of the playoff and whatnot.
Yes, and our number one is almost at a close. Lakeena, who are your top three candidates for the Heisman Trophy if voting ended today?
If voting ended today, I'd probably say C.J. Stroud from Ohio State. I think he's the guy that beats at this point. I think Bryce Young, if he has a good showing in both the Iron Bowl and in the SEC championship game against Georgia, that might help a little bit too. I think another guy that could probably. I try to think of another like non quarterback, but I haven't been able to find him just yet. So if I probably would say maybe Jordan Davis, the defensive end from Georgia, but they rarely give it to a defensive guy. But he's one of the reasons why Georgia's where they are. The running back, I should say, from Georgia, and he's kind of like one of the reasons why Georgia's where they are right now. So. Those are kind of like my top three, but then again, a lot can change. We'll find out in a few weeks, but that's how.
And that is your Week 13 preview from the world of college football, as games will take place tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday in the world of college football. Hour number one in the books. Hour number two straight ahead as you're listening to the pre-Thanksgiving edition of Second City Sports Live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid and Lakeena here with you. Next hour, we'll preview tonight's Bulls-Rockets contest. Should you be worried if you're a Bulls fan? And we'll go around the NBA, preview some of the big games for tonight and for the weekend ahead. And then we'll have our buddy Christine Manika with her week 11 up to week 12. Well, this is going by so far. Week 12
by quick,
NFL picks, and we'll have a whole lot more fun. You're listening to Second City Sports right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. Rumors swirling that Bears head coach Matt Nagy could be fired after tomorrow's game. It's an 11:30 a.m. kickoff at Detroit. The Lions are 0-9-1. The Bears looking to snap a 5-game losing skid. When asked about it, Nagy said,
"That is not accurate. I have not. I have great communication with ownership, with George and Ted and Ryan, but I have not had any discussions."
On the NBA scoreboard tonight, the Bulls visit the Rockets. Chicago 12-6, third in the Eastern Conference. The Rockets just 1-16. They've lost 15 straight. NHL on Tuesday, the Flames beat the Blackhawks 5-2. Reese Johnson and Brendan Hagel with the goals for Chicago. 34 saves for Marc-Andre Fleury. The Hawks dropped to 6-11-2. They'll take on the Blues Friday afternoon at United Center. It's a noon puck drop. For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
O'Reilly.
When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away. We offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. Order online and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. We'll even bring it out curbside. Or you can have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Finally, a bed that senses snoring and automatically responds. Meet the Ergo Smart Base from Tempur-Pedic, our first system that detects snoring, then automatically adjusts by raising the bed. Get your best sleep all night, every night. Now, save up to $500 on select adjustable mattress sets during the Tempur-Pedic Black Friday event. Get full offer details at Tempurpedic.com.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports live in 11 color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. That's Lakeena McGee, which is she. I ain't Sidney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
Follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
If you have any questions or comments during today's show, you could do so by you can place your comments in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Place your comments in the comments, questions in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to do something stupid or decide to act a fool, Lakeena will politely give you the boot.
Goodbye.
I love saying that. Let's jump into some buckets. Looking as we talk NBA, the Chicago Bulls, they are 12-6 on the season. They'll take on the Houston Rockets tonight at 7 p.m. You can watch that game locally on NBC Sports Chicago or nationally on NBA League Pass. Or if you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google it. They'll tell you where you can watch the game. Lakeena, the Indiana Pacers defeated the Chicago Bulls 109-77 on Monday. The Pacers gave the Bulls the boot at the UC. It was not a good game all around for Chicago. Of course, Alex Caruso was missing in action. Their stud, six-man coming off the bench. He was missing, but a whole lot of scoring was missing from the Chicago Bulls as well. DeMar DeRozan only had 18 points on 8 of 16 shooting in 27 minutes of action. Zach LaVine did not have a good game. He only had 17 points on 3 of 7 shooting from three-point range, 7 of 18 overall. Lonzo Ball, he was shut out for the first time in his Bulls career with no points, 0 of 7 overall, 0 for 4 from three-point range. The bench tried, but they just didn't have it. Of course, as I mentioned, Alex Caruso's injury affected them mightily. Ayo Dosunmu, the rookie out of Chicago, the University of Illinois, he had 7 points in 24 minutes of action. Troy Brown Jr. in 30 minutes of action off the bench had 6 points. And Derrick Jones Jr., who has been playing well these last couple of weeks, he only had 8 points and 5 rebounds in 19 minutes of action. Lakeena, as you said on Shana Maya in the morning earlier today, if you're a Bulls fan, of course you're disappointed, but I'm not too worried about this, especially with the team that you're playing tonight on the road in the Houston Rockets. I think the Bulls will bounce back quickly and get a dominating win.
Well, and I said, like I also said too on the on Sean's today, that look, it was a perfect storm. This is what that was what their 5th game in like 6 or 7 nights, and they were coming off second of a back-to-back, a very emotional win against the Knicks. You had the Pacers that had a couple of days off, so they were fresher, and Sabonis had 21 to lead the way for them, and then Malcolm Brogdon had 16 points, Karis LeVert had 12 points. So it was definitely a perfect storm, and like you said, Sid, I mean, Caruso didn't play. There were a couple other guys that didn't play. And it looks like, both Vooch and Caruso are game time decisions, but you really shouldn't need them against Houston. And like, Houston's one of those teams where, they're 1-6 team. I mean, yeah, they're kind of they got some young talent. They're scrappy, but they really, it really shouldn't, you got a couple of days off too to kind of reflect on that loss against the Pacers, and there's no reason why the Bulls shouldn't win this game tonight against the Rockets.
I couldn't agree with you more. Of course, on the flip side for Houston, you have Kevin Porter Jr. and then you have rookie standout Jalen Green. Look for those two to have try to have some big performances. But I think this is a get-right game for Chicago. You mentioned the Rockets, even though they've been playing well as of late, even though the record doesn't reflect it, they can sneak up on you if you're Chicago if you don't take this game seriously. But I expect the Bulls to win and win big tonight on the road.
Yeah, which they should. Look, I think it's one of those things where, like, what? Yeah, you're gonna get a fight for them. They pushed Boston a couple of days ago, so
they pushed the Knicks too on last Saturday at the Garden.
They did. So you're gonna get a fight from them. They kind of remind me of the Bulls from a few years ago in a lot of ways, but they just don't have the talent right now. So there's no reason why the Bulls shouldn't win this game and shouldn't win this game handily. So yeah, so they should be able to get this. This should be like you said, it should be a get right game for them.
Let's go back to recap of some of the key games from last night in the NBA. Of course, the New York Knicks up into the Los Angeles Lakers without LeBron James, 106-100. The Knicks had some hot shooting, especially in that first half. Of course, the Lakers battled back in the second half with Westbrook and Anthony Davis. They got back in the game, but the Knicks held off the Lakers down the stretch. Lakeena, as we talked about on Monday with that fight between Isaiah Stewart and LeBron James. Of course, LeBron James was suspended for last night's game. Isaiah Stewart got 2 games. Me personally should have been 3 or 4 games for the way he acted, not leaving the court in a timely fashion. But
Yes,
that's old news. I'll leave that alone. But the Knicks, after losing to Chicago at the UC, they get back on track with the big win against the Lakers.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, this is only going to be the only trip for the Lakers to this week. So this season. So the fact that Evan Fournier led the way for the Knicks with 26, and they had contributions off the bench from Obi Toppin, Alex Burks, and Isaiah Quickly, and Emmanuel Quickly, I should say. And that sort of was the key for them. And because Randall did his thing, he had 20 points, but he had his struggles in the 3-point range. And as far as with the Lakers, I mean, AD kind of had his struggles a little bit. Also, too, Westbrook did what he was supposed to, but they didn't get a lot of contributions, from the other guys. I mean, Carmelo had his struggles. Dwight Howard, didn't contribute much. So still a lot. They're still trying to figure things out in LA. So I know Lakers fans are a little freaked out, but I think, look, not having LeBron there, I think that definitely didn't help them much. So it is what it is.
Also, the Portland Trail Blazers get back on track with a 119-100 victory over Denver. Of course, Denver, as we mentioned, they are struggling without Jokic, and they have some other injuries as well. A nice win for Portland. Maybe this will be the turnaround to what they've been looking for throughout this first month of the season. So they get a big win last night. Also, too, this was an exciting one. I checked out the highlights this morning. The Dallas Mavericks upended the Clippers 112-104 in overtime. Paul George hit a game-tying 3 at the end of regulation as time expired, but it was the Dallas Mavericks dominating the extra 5-minute session.
Yeah, didn't Luca get ejected for? I guess he said something about PG. I guess, and I guess the ref heard him, and I guess he got kicked. He got the boot. So but look, I think Porzingis helped out a lot.
Finally,
Dorian Finney-Smith, I think, contributed a lot too. So I think that's what helped them in that extra session. I think there's only 10 points total. I mean, the Clippers only scored 1 point in that extra session. So it was basically all Dallas in that overtime game. And it was thanks to Dorian Finney-Smith, also too for Porzingis as well. So, if you're the Clippers, you're kind of kicking yourself that you kind of let that game kind of slip away from you.
Yeah, and shout out to Tyronn Lue and the whole coaching staff with the Clippers. I know they're training above water without Kawhi and Leonard, but like you said, they let that game get away from them last night, especially the way regulation ended, but they just didn't have enough in overtime. You're listening to Second City Sports, the pre-Thanksgiving edition. I'm Sid, that's Lakeena, as we talk Chicago Bulls and the rest of the NBA. Lakeena, let's get to the schedule for tonight. Is a very busy schedule because the NBA will not play tomorrow due to the NFL. So let's go through some of the key games tonight. The Phoenix Suns will continue their East Coast road trip. They'll play against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland lost a close one to Brooklyn on Monday. They'll host Phoenix tonight at 6 p.m. Phoenix is favored by 7.5 points. The Lakers, they'll get LeBron James back as they'll take on the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers are favored by 5.5. And the first game of the ESPN doubleheader tonight is the Boston Celtics hosting the Brooklyn Nets.
Should be a fun one there, and it looks like KD might be back tonight. I haven't heard anything about whether or not he was.
I know he played in the last game against the Cleveland on Monday.
Yes,
so
he did.
So hopefully, like I said, he'll be available for tonight's game. Hopefully,
yeah. Let's hope so. Also, of course, Bulls and the Rockets, Toronto and Memphis. That should be a fun one. Detroit and Milwaukee, Miami. The final line of Tech Guys against Minnesota. That should be a fun one. Let's see, Washington, New Orleans, and that kind of a little bit of a mess there. Utah and OKC, Atlanta and San Antonio, and the second game of that doubleheader, Philly and Golden State. We'll see if Steph still puts on a show for the national audience as usual. And also, too, Portland try to continue their winning ways against Sacramento.
Yeah, let's go to that 76ers and Warriors game. I don't know if Embiid is going to be back yet, but Philadelphia has been okay. Then I know they struggled in the first few games. Embiid has been out since he caught COVID. But I want to go to the flip side to Golden State. They're 15-2 right now. I think I heard Steph say the other day that some of the things that the Warriors are doing this year are reminding him of the 2015 squad, which won the first championship for that franchise at that time for the first time in 40 years. I know Klay Thompson has been cleared to practice as we expected, and hopefully he'll be back soon. But talk about the Warriors, Lakeena. I know everybody focusing on Steph and Draymond, but we talked about this before. Some of their key role players have been making a huge contribution to this team this year.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Poole, I mean, coming off the bench, I mean, he's been sort of been contributing to it, also too in the starting lineup as well. So he's been contributing a lot. Andrew Wiggins, of course, looks like he's finally kind of being the player that a lot of people thought he would be. They get some guys off the bench too. Otto Porter Jr. I mean, he had 15 off the bench in their last.
And that sounds familiar if you're a Bulls fan.
I know, right? So, and also too, look, they're getting contributions from Giosa. I mean, they're getting contributions not just from Steph and of course Draymond, but also too they're getting a lot of contributions from their secondary guys and their bench guys. So I think it's a total team effort. Now we'll see once Klay is able to really get into a groove and play. Where is he going to fit? Is it going to be in the lineup? Is he going to be coming off the bench for those first couple of games? Going to get his straight back into it? And we just don't know at this point. So I guess it's a good spot to be in if you're Steve Kerr right now.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not a Warriors fan. I don't hate them, but I like watching them play, and they've been exciting so far this year. As we mentioned, they'll host the 76ers tonight at 9 p.m. local time, 9 p.m. Chicago time on ESPN. Of course, wrap it up. Tonight's action will be Portland on a back-to-back. They'll travel to Sacramento to take on the Kings. I believe this will be Alvin Gentry's coaching debut for Sacramento.
And also, too, Friday, of course, after the Thanksgiving. Of course, there's a tradition that NBA gets Thanksgiving off, so that's why they do that. Friday, the early game here, you got Detroit and the Clippers. That should be interesting. When they're Minnesota and Charlotte, that's a 6:00 game. Phoenix and the Knicks. I mean, I'm a little surprised that game's not on television, but
yeah.
Bulls continue their road trip against Orlando. Vucevic, we'll see if he has a chance to play his former team. Looks like he should be cleared to play by then. We'll see Toronto and Indiana at 7:00. Atlanta and Memphis. That should be Trae Young versus John Morant. That should be a fun
Atlanta's back on track there at 500 as of right now.
So it looks like they're getting back on track at the right time. They're getting guys back. Washington, OKC, Boston and San Antonio, and the NBA TV. Game of the week, you got Milwaukee and Denver. We'll see if Jokic is able to come back for that game.
Yeah, wrapping up Friday night schedule, we have New Orleans at Utah at 8:00. The Trailblazers and the Warriors at 9 p.m. I'm really looking forward to that one. Steph Curry versus Damian Lillard.
Yes.
And of course, you have the Kings, the Sacramento Kings, and the Los Angeles Lakers. Wrapping up Friday night's action.
Saturday matchups, you got Minnesota and Philadelphia. We'll see if Embiid will be back for that game. New York and Atlanta, that should be a fun one between those two teams. The playoff series last year.
Yep. And then we had Yep. And then we had the Phoenix Suns against the Brooklyn Nets. That's the Saturday night game on NBA TV. That's at 6:30 p.m. Chicago time. Of course, you had the Magic and Cavaliers at 7:00. The Miami Heat and the Chicago Bulls at 7:00. We should Alana Tagar. We should be. Yeah.
Yeah, we should be between Alana and our buddy Matt Tech. So
I think I'll be on Twitter for that one, Lakeena. At least peep in a little bit. I'll peep in on that one.
Play nice, you two. If you guys and Big Dave watch as well. Play nice, you three. Play nice.
Yes.
Should be a fun one as it is between these two. Charlotte and Houston, Washington and Dallas. That should be a fun one.
Yes.
And Bradley Beal against Luka Doncic. That should be a fun one. And also New Orleans versus the Jazz.
Yep, they'll wrap up the 2-game series in Utah. And For Sunday, this should be a good one. Right in the middle of the football schedule. I don't know why they scheduled this at this. Well, we know why. We know why. We'll
Right,
get to it in
we
a second.
know.
At 2:30 p.m. Chicago time on Sunday, we'll have the Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Clippers. That should be fun. The Bucks and the Pacers will do battle at 4 o'clock. I don't know why that game is so early, but the Celtics and Raptors at 5 o'clock. We have the Sacramento Kings at Memphis Grizzlies at 5 o'clock. And then, of course, the late night cap on Sunday. The Pistons will continue their road trip in Los Angeles. They'll take on the Lakers. There's going to be some bad blood.
Oh, yeah.
No pun intended, but I don't think, hopefully nothing stupid will happen in this go around. These two teams will match up for the final time this year at
Yes.
Staples. I'm calling it Staples.
Yeah. We're not talking about. We're not going to call it by that corporate name. I know we call it crypto.com arena. That's not happening. So sorry to all the kind folks who work there, but we're not calling it that. But so great games coming up this weekend, long Thanksgiving Day weekend. So if you guys are going to be doing some Black Friday shopping, take a break and watch some NBA. And yeah, the schedule. Yeah, explain to the folks why we saw some of those really super early games like the Warriors and the Clippers. You think that would be like a prime time game, but
the Lakers will be playing that night, and the Warriors and the Clippers will be playing during the day. Of course, both the Clippers and the Lakers share the same arena. And so that's and the Clippers will get the early treatment. So the Lakers will get the prime time treatment. Of course, the Clippers won't have to worry about that in the next 3 or 4 years because Steve Ballmer's putting up that new arena.
Yeah. So just right by SoFi Stadium, I think, or right around that same area.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be, we got to wait about 3 years, but that's why Clippers got the early slate and the Lakers got the late slate. So I think they did a coin flip, I guess. I don't know how that worked, but that's how it ended up being the way it is. But look, these should be some great games. I mean, like you said before, we'll see if Isaiah Stewart and LeBron can play nice, and we'll see how Steph and them do against PG and the Clippers.
Yep. You're listening to Second City Sports, the pre-Thanksgiving edition. We're live and in living color on the Wednesday, along with Lakeena McGee. I am Sydney Brown. Lakeena, we still have some time left, including yours truly. Can you update us on the world of college basketball? I know there's some tournament games, some early season tournament games going on right now. I know that Michigan State, I forgot one of our local teams played earlier. So give us an update on the world of college basketball.
Yeah, you got some. Of course, you got the Maui tournament. Of course, they're playing in Las Vegas again, I should say, this year. Let's see, Wisconsin, St. Mary's. That's going to be for the championship of that classic holiday classic game. Let's see. I know people are already like buzzing about Gonzaga basically hammering UCLA by 20, but I mean, look, it's not. I'm not worried about that right now. Illinois had a nice bounce back win against K-State, at a tournament there. So that a tournament, and I believe it was in I know it was the Hall of Fame Classic Hotels.com tournament. So they won that tournament. So that's they came in third place in that game. Arkansas ended up winning the title in that tournament. They're still undefeated, beating Cincinnati, who beat Illinois in that tournament. Let's see some games coming up today. I believe UConn and Alabama. Auburn, I should say, they're about to tip off in about 10 minutes. Seton Hall, fresh off their upset win against Michigan, they play Cal. Xavier, they're undefeated, for the first time in a while. They play Iowa State in a holiday tournament. Tarleton State and Michigan, I think Michigan needed a bounce back, so they should be able to beat Tarleton pretty handily there. Ohio State and Florida, they're playing in a holiday tournament in Fort Myers, Florida, so that should be a fun one. Florida, they're back to regulars, like they're getting it together, and so a lot. Like I said before, you got a lot of holiday tournaments going on this weekend. So if you guys have a chance, check out some college hoops. I know some people want to wait till like after conference play starts, but I think right now you want to see what's going on.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that I wait till at least the middle of December when you have those matchups that were already scheduled, out of conference. Like you have Arizona versus Illinois. I'm just throwing it out there. Those matchups. I know that gets folks like me interested. Of course, in the month of January, conference play begins. So I'm waiting till that time to really focus in on it. I know that Dick Vitale. I didn't get a chance to watch the clip. I read the quote this morning. I know he had an emotional return
Yeah.
to the TV booth last night.
Yeah, after still undergoing treatment for cancer, but the good news is that he was well enough to call that Gonzaga UCLA game, and look, that's really great to see. And look, I look, as far as the game itself, I think, like I said before, I'm not worried about that right now. Gonzaga plays Duke next week, so we'll see how
Mhm.
they do. But yeah, I mean, I think there's still a lot. Look, you still got a lot. We're only about like a little over like a couple of weeks into the college hoop season, so there's still a lot to be decided. So I think folks should should just slow down on making any proclamations, because I kind of feel like at this point, we're just waiting for conference play to start.
Yeah. You're listening to Second City Sports right here on Sports Zone Chicago, live and in living color. That's Lakeena. I am Sid. Lakeena, we have a few minutes left before we hit the bottom of the hour. The announcing schedule for the Week 12 in the NFL has been released, of course. The Thursday night game on NBC, the Thanksgiving Classic between New Orleans and Buffalo. We'll give you our picks coming up on the flip side. But Mike Tirico will be calling this game with Drew Brees and Michelle Tafoya. So Drew Brees again to call a game against one of his former teams in which he won a Super Bowl with following the 2009 season. That's going to be interesting. For Sunday, Pittsburgh at Cincinnati on CBS at high noon. Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, and Melanie Collins. The New York Jets and the Houston Texans on CBS. Our good friend Spiro Diaz will call that one. We love him, but I know he's going to be pulling teeth, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, but also too, both Joe Flacco and Mike White are in COVID protocol, so it looks like Zach Wilson will be starting that game for the Jets. So, yeah, Houston, hoping from it won't have a letdown from that big win they had against Tennessee. So, yeah, still should be but you never know. I mean, the Jets have actually been playing pretty well lately, so you never know.
Tampa Bay at Indianapolis on Fox. This will be the game one of the Fox doubleheader. I believe this game will be aired here in Chicago. Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olson, and Pam Oliver for that one. Atlanta at Jacksonville on Fox. We have Kevin Kugler, Chicago's very own Laura Oakman, and Mark Sanchez for that one. Sanchez has not done a bad job this year.
Yeah, I have to say, I know that's something that he really wanted to do. He wanted to call games. He never get a chance to do that when he was doing college football at ESPN. So I'm glad he's getting a chance to. And also, too, he and Kevin Kugler actually are a pretty good tandem. Of course, with Chicago's very own, well, Skokie very own, but we still call it Chicago. Lauren Oakman on the sidelines. But yeah, so Jacksonville's been playing pretty well lately. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Carolina and Miami. You got, of course, Chris Myers, Daryl Moose Johnson, who should be in the Hall of Fame, by the way. Dave Gubbett. So that's another discussion. Also, too, Jen Hale. That should be an interesting one, I guess. Cam. I know he loves playing in Miami, so we'll see how they do in that game.
Yeah, just a couple more announcing crews. Philadelphia at the Giants on Fox. Chicago's very own Adam Amin. We'll call that one along with Mark Schlereth and Shannon Spake. Grant Gumbel, Chicago's very own, will call the Chargers in Denver on CBS at 3 o'clock. Of course, Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews will be calling the Rams and the Green Bay Packers. Let's welcome in our good friend. Yes. And let's welcome in our good friend from KXRB Radio in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Miss Christine the Queen Manika.
The Queen The Queen is here.
Give me too much credit. Stop.
Very humble as always. So, what are your thoughts? Well, we'll start with the Bulls first. I mean, you think the Bulls can bounce back tonight?
Oh, yeah. This team has surprised me a lot already this season. I didn't think that they were going to be as good as they are. So, absolutely, if they had the motivation and the drive for it, sure, why not?
Yeah, as we talked about before, that loss against Indiana on Monday, it wasn't good, but you could just throw that tape out the window. It happened, so
Exactly.
so that the Bulls should be fine. Now, Christine, before we hit the bottom of the hour, we don't want to get your thoughts on the Bears. Of course, there's rumors out there that Matt Nagy will be fired on Monday. He'll be coaching his last game tomorrow. Of course, Matt Nagy in his press conference yesterday say it's all a lie. But yes, your special teams coach speak first. He said we were focusing on Detroit. It's interesting to me that somebody that doesn't cover sports, no offense, can get the scoop, but the people that cover the team cannot get it. It's almost like the national people getting stuff out of New England when Tom Brady said, but your local reporters can't get the scoop first. I find it very interesting. But what is your thoughts about this whole Matt Nagy situation?
I have some other thoughts about it later on, but to start off with, I guess I'll say it's what his response yesterday. I watched it. It's to be expected. It's a short week for them. He's in game mode, and his response is a typical coach's response when there's a game coming up in 2 days. So I'm not surprised that he shot down the rumors right away, and I'm not surprised he had some backup, some ammunition to go with that, saying, hey, I talked to the owners, I talked to the general manager, we have a good relationship. And of course, they're going to ask his other fellow coaches what their thoughts were about it. And maybe they were given the same playbook for that one, but it's clear that they're not saying anything yet until whatever the outcome of the game is tomorrow.
That's probably what's going to happen there. I think whether they'll win or lose, I think, I don't know. It seems a little, like Sid said, it seems a little weird that a guy who doesn't cover sports somehow got the scoop. And yet you got people who've been covering the team, for years, and yet they couldn't get the scoop. So it just seemed the whole thing just seemed a little bit weird. But then again, this would be so Bearsy. So this is typical Bears. So it wouldn't be that big of a topic.
and also too, we didn't talk about this, Lakeena, earlier. We didn't, but I'll get to it now since we have Christine on with us. Of course, the Fire Nagy chants came loud and clear following Sunday's game against the Ravens. Of course, one of Matt Nagy's kids plays for Lakes Forest High School last Saturday. One of his sons heard it, directed towards him. I had a huge problem with that. Of course, at the Bulls game on Monday, of course, the Bulls got their butts handed to them, but the Bulls fans started chanting "Fire Nagy." I didn't have a problem after Sunday's game. I didn't have a problem with it at the Bulls game, but the high school game, come on now.
Rough.
Yeah.
No, that's rough. I mean, Matt Nagy had a good response to it, saying, hey, you know what? Everyone has their own opinion. I'm not going to care about what everyone else is saying. I'm just there to watch my son play. And, I think it was a good portion that kids were saying that chant. So you got to give kids the benefit of the doubt in that regard, too, because they may not even know what's going on. Yeah, they keep up with sports and football, but they may not even know what's going on. And, it's tough, especially when you have a dad or you have any parent that's in the spotlight or is in the main headlines. And I think Nagy is a dad that likes to prepare his kids for stuff like this. I'm sure he mentioned something like that will happen here and there down the road of his time with the Bears. Did he expect it? Probably at his son's game? Probably not. So the kids that chanted it, I can give him a little grace. The parents that went along with it, that's when I draw the line, because he's only a kid. He's only a kid. You know that Matt's probably in the stands listening. You know his kids playing out there. Just have a little respect. There's a fine line that you draw there. And I always say, no matter how much you're in the public light, don't get your kids involved in it. Just don't get the family involved. Don't get the kids involved.
I remember like way back when Derrick Rose was in high school playing at Sydney. I remember there were a couple of times when people called him chanting, D Rose ugly or something like that. I distinctly remember watching that and listening to that, and he took it as much as the best he can, for someone in that situation, being in the spotlight at such a young age. So, Coach Nagy's son didn't ask for that, so I think that was just a little bit out of bounds, but. They did, as long as they didn't like call them names or anything like that. I guess they're not high school kids, so of course, we all said and done stupid things in high school. So, it is what it is.
Yeah. Not to go on a rant here, but we complain about so many, not all, but many of our young people, the way they act, the way they do. But as you mentioned, Christine, you look at the parents, they encourage silly behavior like that. You wonder why some, not all, but some of our young people act the way they do. I blame them more on the parents.
Yeah,
you set the example.
it starts with the parents for sure, especially with something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, as
And,
Armando said, it was classless what they did at Nike. So I mean, it is what it is, though. Like I said, I mean, like it is what it is. So I mean, look, I've heard worse things at high school games. So that's if that's like the worst someone has said about somebody.
Yeah, you're right.
I've heard worse. I've heard worse things. Yeah.
Could have gone completely different.
Yeah, I've heard worse things at high school. I've been to some high school football and basketball games. Trust me, I've heard worse things. Trust me, I can guarantee you guys on that.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel about that, but yeah, I've heard worse. But yeah.
Yeah, we reached the bottom of the hour. When we return, we'll have our Week 12 NFL picks, and we'll have those ugly results, and among other things. And we'll have, among other things, we'll have to discuss the 2021 Baseball Hall of Fame battle, who goes on, who stays off, and we'll have some other fun stuff as well. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. That's Christine. You're listening to Second City Sports live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. Rumors swirling that Bears head coach Matt Nagy could be fired after tomorrow's game. It's an 11:30 a.m. kickoff at Detroit. The Lions are 0-9-1. The Bears looking to snap a 5-game losing skid. When asked about it, Nagy said,
"That is not accurate. I have not. I have great communication with ownership, with George and Ted and Ryan, but I have not had any discussions."
On the NBA scoreboard tonight, the Bulls visit the Rockets. Chicago 12-6, third in the Eastern Conference. The Rockets just 1-16. They've lost 15 straight. NHL on Tuesday, the Flames beat the Blackhawks 5-2. Reese Johnson and Brendan Hagel with the goals for Chicago. 34 saves for Marc-Andre Fleury. The Hawks dropped to 6-11-2. They'll take on the Blues Friday afternoon at United Center. It's a noon puck drop. For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
O'Reilly.
When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away. We offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. Order online and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. We'll even bring it out curbside. Or you can have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Finally, a bed that senses snoring and automatically responds. Meet the Ergo Smart Base from Tempur-Pedic, our first system that detects snoring, then automatically adjusts by raising the bed. Get your best sleep all night, every night. Now, save up to $500 on select adjustable mattress sets during the Tempur-Pedic Black Friday event. Get full offer details at TempurPedic.com.
Welcome back to the last segment of the show right here on Second City Sports. We're live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Along with Lakeena McGee and Christine, the Queen Manika. I am.
Oh my gosh.
You're getting bedtime, Christine. You're getting bedtime. So get now is this is my personal favorite part of the show. Since we won't be on Friday, we'll have our Week 12 pick'ems, pigskin pick'ems in the National Football League. Lakeena, I know there's some ugly results, but give them to us.
Well, look, I haven't actually listened to the show yet. I've been kind of busy and I've been a little bit under the weather, but it looks like yes, and I think there's only like 3 games that separate between the 3 of us, so. Still, look, we're still like very close, but yeah, we did not have
nobody did well last week. That's what we said.
Yeah, right. That's what we said. Yeah, we were all very bad at our picks. Like I said, I have to listen to it again, but hopefully but don't worry, by next Friday I will be able to have everything, with this week's results and last week's results. But yeah, we were terrible last week. So
thanks for the positive right there.
Right.
Yeah, for the last 3 weeks, you think you can predict the NFL? The NFL says, no.
No, you can never predict it.
No, not at all. You would thought, Halloween was last month, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're seeing these weird results. Also, too, Kansas City and Arizona are on bye, so if you adjust your fantasy teams accordingly. So Make sure you guys a reminder of that. All right, the Thanksgiving Day games. The second game in that game, of course, we'll do the Bears and Lions last. You got the Raiders and the Cowboys. This will be the CBS game at 3:30 Central Time. Sid, you start this one.
It looks like Dallas is going to miss both their starting wide receivers. Hopefully, Ezekiel Elliott, their running back, is healthy enough to play. Dallas is favored by 7. Las Vegas, they've been on a losing streak these last couple of weeks. I think Dallas, I know they didn't have a good showing at Kansas City last week, but they're at home. I think they'll do enough to scrape by a win. I don't know if I'll take them in the points, but we don't do point spreads on the show. But we pick straight up winners. I'm going with Dallas.
I'll go with Dallas too, Sid. And just to give everyone an idea, Dallas is currently 1-2 in this month. That's only 3 games in. And they made some silly moves in the past month or so, I'd say. That I really thought Dak was going to show Mahomes up, and of course I was wrong. So this time around, with it being home, with it being Thanksgiving, they always do games big down there for Thanksgiving. It's going to be Dallas, I feel like. It will be close, but it will be Dallas.
Yeah, I like that first game. We'll talk about that in a bit, but this will be a much better game, I think. I think Vegas, I should say, will keep it close, but I think Dallas will just enough. But I think they'll be on Zeke's back to get the running game going. So I think Dallas is a close one. All right, the nightcapper here on Thanksgiving night. You got the Bills and the Saints. I'll start this one to kind of change it up a bit. I'm hoping that the Bills can get it together. I don't know what the hell happened last week. I'm hoping that, being in a controlled environment, I'm hoping that, Josh Allen won't be the leading rusher, because that's not a good thing. They need this game to kind of keep up with the Patriots in the AFC East. It looks like Kamara still won't be able to play. I know Trevor Siemian, I think, has done a great job, kind of filling in, but I think the Bills are the more talented team, so I'm picking the Bills. Don't you let me down, Bills, or else I'm going to give up on y'all.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck happened on Sunday with them. I'll talk about that more later. But, look, the Bills, they are crumbling right now, but I feel like this is a good game for them to get back. I haven't lost faith in them yet. I'm still saying Buffalo over New Orleans right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if somehow this scenario flipped. But for now, it's Buffalo.
Buffalo's favored by 4.5. I know the Saints have a strong defense, but as you mentioned, Lakeena and Kamara may not play. I'm going off of that information alone. I'm going with Buffalo.
All right, first one of the noon games, a really good one. You got the Bucks and the Colts. Christine, you start this one.
Okay, let me just say this: the Colts are not that good. I don't know where from with them against the Bills, but they're not that good. I hate to tell you, Indianapolis fans. They're just not like that. So last Sunday was just weird. I think this is going to be a game totally that has Tampa Bay written all over it. I know it's home field for the Colts, but Tom Brady's gonna make a little statement on that.
I know Tampa Bay's favored by 3, and they did get back on track with a big win against the Giants on Monday night. I expect Tampa Bay to keep up with that same formula as far as running the ball is concerned. Yeah. They should be able to do that against the Colts. I know, Lakeena, you talk about that Colts defense for the last year or so. They're still good, but not as good as they were a year ago. As you mentioned, Christine, Tom Brady should be able to make another statement. I'm going with Tampa.
Yeah, I know it's a short week, because the Bucs just played Monday night, but they really shouldn't have any problems with the Colts. I think, they're starting to turn the corner a little bit, and like you said, I don't know what happened. We saw they look like the Super Bowl team against the Bills last week, but I think the Bucs are the better team, so I think the Bucs should win. It'll be close, but I think the Bucs should win this one. Okay, a pair of 2 and 8, as Sid said, that our buddy Spiro Diaz and Jay Feely will have the call here. You got the Jets and the Texans. Sid, you start this one.
Houston's favored by 3. Zach Wilson, the rookie quarterback, should get the start for the Jets. Houston was very impressive last week with one of the few upsets. They got over Tennessee. The Jets are terrible. They are just a big hot mess. Houston's at home. For that reason alone, I'm going with Houston.
Home field, Houston, mic drop. Next.
Short and sweet.
Good Lord, these two teams.
I know, right? I'm hoping for our buddy Spiro's sake that they actually get a good game here. But yeah, I think Houston's riding a little bit of a high from that upset win last week. So I'm picking Houston, like you said, like you guys said, they're at home. NFC East matchup here, you got the Eagles and the Giants. Look, I think the Eagles feel like they may have an outside shot of getting one of the wild card spots. They're getting better. Jalen Hurts has looked really good. The Giants, they look so putrid. I mean, Daniel Jones basically gave an interception to a guy that had never had an interception in his career. He's played for 12 years in the league. So I'm gonna pick Philadelphia.
And by putrid, I hope you mean just they look bad, the Giants. Like they just look all beaten up and bruised and just ready to go on to the next season. But yeah, I'm going to go with Philadelphia for this one just because they are, again, they seem to be improving and getting back to where they used to be for right now. But yeah, Philly.
Saquon Barkley, I know he's coming back from that torn ACL from a year ago. He hasn't run the ball well. Daniel Jones looks like he's not the answer at QB. The defense is terrible. Philadelphia, on the flip side, they can run the ball with Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard, ex-Bear, and Boston Scott. And Jalen Hurts is playing very well. You don't have to put all the pressure on him. Philadelphia has had a perfect formula for the last 3 weeks. I expect them to run a tough game on the road. So I'm going with the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Eagles, Eagles. All right. All right. I can spell, folks. Yeah. Panthers and Miami. Sid, you start this one.
Carolina had their chances to beat the Washington football team last week at home. That didn't happen. I know Cam Newton had an emotional return home. I know the Panthers are currently favored by a point, which means it's at a pick 'em. Miami, I know they looked good the last couple of weeks, but this isn't their year. Carolina should be more focused now they're going on the road. I think they'll get back on track. Let's go, Cam Newton and the Panthers.
I don't think it was ever Miami's year. Last year it would have been Miami's year, but this year not so much. Yeah, Cam should have no issues here with Miami. The weather should be pretty decent there too. So let's go with Carolina for this one.
Yeah, I'm up for the sweep too, Carolina. I think, yeah, I know they lost. They lost a tough one last week, but I think this is one of those get right games for them. And look, weather shouldn't be a problem for Cam. I know he loves playing in Miami, so I know he's going to want to put on a show. So let's go Panthers. All right, a good one here. 8-3 Titans versus a 7-4 Patriots. Christine, you start this one.
I think, okay, so Tannehill, it's gotten a little bad. I think I see 9 interceptions in 6 games.
Yep.
That's a lot. Like that's a lot. So I don't know. Mac Jones is turning into an amazing quarterback. He could be, I think they're right when they're saying he could be the franchise for the Patriots, and I can see him having a great career there. So with that, I think I'm going to go with New England for this one. This is going to be a good challenge for Jones. So let's hope that this game is going to be a good turnout.
I know ex-New England Patriots player, now current head coach of the Titans, Mike very well has owned Bill Belichick the last 3 years these two teams have played, including that playoff game, which turned out to be Brady's last game in the Patriots uniform. But things are a little bit different this year. I think the Titans will play better, but if their running back Derrick Henry was in the lineup, it would have been a no doubt for me picking the Titans. But I got to be real here. The Patriots are favored by 2.5. I'm going with the Patriots.
It pains me to say this, but I am picking the Patriots because, for all the reasons you guys said, I mean, if Derrick Henry wasn't hurt, I think I probably would pick the Titans, but I'm picking the Patriots. They're at home, and who's going to be the offense for them? AP's been released, and AJ Brown might be, still a little banged up. So who's going to be their offense? Unless the Titans, unless the Titans defense becomes the opportunistic bunch that they are and intercept Mac Jones a couple of times, which could happen, but we'll see. All right, AFC North here, you got the Steelers and the Bengals. Sid, you start this one.
Do I have to? Pittsburgh, What can we say? What can we say? They should have won that game against San Diego on the road last Sunday night. I know that tie will probably benefit them at the end of the year. On the flip side for Cincinnati, big win at Las Vegas last week. I know they're favored by 4. This is really a tough one. I know Cincinnati got Pittsburgh early in the year. But I got this weird feeling that Pittsburgh has something up their sleeve. I know I'm going to say take 2 and call me in the morning, but I'm going with Pittsburgh in the shocker on the road.
Okay, I'm going to go against that and say Cincinnati. And the only reason why is because Cincinnati is home. And lately, the Steelers, they've not been so good when they're on the road. So because of that, home field advantage, go for Cincinnati.
Oh gosh, I have this weird feeling that Big Ben's probably gonna have his best game this season. I feel
Come
like
to the orange side.
I know, but look, would it surprise me if Cincy, pulls this off? Sure, of course, but look, the Steelers are going to be smarting from the loss to the Chargers. I think they really feel that they should have won that game, so I think they're going to take it out on Cincy. And look, I'm still in show me mode with Cincy. I mean, show me what that you guys are legit, that you guys are for real. So. Let's do it. This is your chance to do it against a division opponent. So let's do this. All right. You got Atlanta and the Jags. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm hoping Atlanta can pull it off, but I don't know. Is Jay Robinson, is he going to play? I know he's been banged up. He was banged up. So I don't know. I think you know what? I'll take Atlanta just for some reason. I kind of feel like they're sort of like, hopefully they could kind of, get right game, and hopefully we'll see a little bit of the MVP Matt Ryan.
See, Sid, what your game was for Pittsburgh. This is my game. Like, do I have to pick this one?
Right.
Right. This is just the lesser of 2 evils. But, I know Jacksonville is at home. I know probably Trevor Lawrence will feel the energy of the crowd thinking, yeah, we should win this one. But I think Matt Ryan's just got years on him as opposed to Trevor Lawrence at the moment. So, yeah, I'm going to go with you, Lakeena, and say Atlanta.
Let's make it 3 for 3 in Atlanta. I know Jacksonville, after playing well the last couple of weeks, they got embarrassed by the 49ers last week. Ugh. If you're a gambling man, this game is at a pick 'em. Do not touch this game. That's all I have to say about that. I'm going with Atlanta.
Yeah, stay as far away from this game as possible. Although this one should be a good one in the AFC West. You got the Chargers and the Broncos. Oh gosh. I know the Broncos are 5-5, but I feel like the Chargers are starting to turn the corner, especially with their defense. So it'll be a close one like it usually is between these two, but I'm picking the Chargers. Los Angeles Chargers of Orange County, as I call them.
Or the San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles.
Yeah, really. I'm going to go with the Chargers, too. It's going to be a close one, but they're riding that high over that last win, so they want to keep it going, and especially since this is going to be a good matchup for them, too. So I'd say the Chargers.
As I said before, Lakeena, the Chargers have shown you at times that they could be a playoff team. I did pick them to go to the playoffs. You have to win tough games, especially on the road. I think the Chargers, this will be a close game. This is a division game, but I think they'll come up short, especially riding high off of that win against Pittsburgh last Sunday night. They got lucky there. Denver, they were embarrassed a couple weeks ago against Philadelphia. I think Denver can put some pressure on Mr. Herbert, and they got to run the ball with some consistency. I'm going with an upset here. I'm going with Denver.
Wow.
Right. Well, look, it wouldn't surprise me, but yeah, we'll
surprise
see.
Me, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, not on Team Orange.
Yeah, right. All right. America's game of the week. You got the Rams and the Packers. Christine, you start this one.
Gosh, Rodgers wants revenge so bad after Sunday's game. I was watching it. I was going back and forth between our pathetic team and an actual football game, and holy cow, did that come down to the wire?
Yes,
of course, yeah. Believe it, and this is going to be a home game for them. He wants it; they're going to get it. It's going to be the Packers.
The Rams are coming off a bye week in Green Bay, as you mentioned, Christine. They lost on the last second field goal. I know this is a revenge game for the Rams because they lost at Green Bay last year during the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But I think but the Rams, their focus, They should have come out with a better effort. I know they've been struggling the last couple of weeks. I'm going with the shocker for you guys. I'm going with the Rams in a close one.
Jeez.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm picking the Packers. I know Aaron Rodgers kind of is like Medusa. Like I know he's had like that turf toe or COVID toe, whatever they're calling it. But yeah, I think he's remember. I know he lost one of his top O-line guys for the year because of an injury. But they've actually had a good like next person up mentality there. And I know the Reds are coming off a bye, but it's probably gonna be freezing there in Lambeau. So it'll be close, but I'm picking the Packers because they're at home. It's at Lambeau.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me. A good one here. A couple of 5-5 teams here. You got the Vikings and the 49ers. Sid, you start this one.
In America's other game of the week. America's other game of the week. Let's go to my cheat sheet here. San Francisco is favored by 2.5. We talked about Minnesota. That was a great game. I agree with you, Christine. I did watch the majority of that game via this computer screen. San Francisco, they dominated the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road. As we told you last Friday, that the time difference wouldn't matter, and it didn't. I'm going to go with the 49ers here. I know I've been critical of them the last couple years. Been critical of the Vikings offense worse. They look hot one week, they look cold the next week. I got to see some consistency. I don't know if I'm going to get it, but I think you'll get a better effort from the 49ers in a close one. I'm going with the 49ers. They are favored. Did I say this? If I didn't, I'll say it again. 49ers are favored by 2.5.
Cold for Minnesota. That describes the state that they're in. That's for sure. Whether they're hot or cold, but I was really shocked that Minnesota won. They had a great game, but usually at the end for the Vikings, they tend to really drop the ball, so to speak, and just let everything else go for the most part and end up losing. But, I was impressed with how they handled being under that pressure, under that situation, being facing against a team like the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. So because of that, it could go either way. But for the first time, and me, I've been tough on Minnesota this entire season. I think I'm going to go with Minnesota for this one, especially after their win that they had over Green Bay last weekend. They're going to want another big one, and they are riding that high for sure.
Yeah, I know Everson Griffin, hopefully he can get that situation is settled, because I know he is the only one that's not at practice right now. But you guys can Google that. You know what? I think the 49ers, I kind of feel like they're getting good at the right time. I think they feel like maybe, Jimmy G and the offense, they're kind of getting to the groove. Guys are getting healthy. The defense is actually pretty good. It's going to be close, but I feel like the 49ers, think they have an outside shot of getting one of the wild card spots. So I think the 49ers, might win this one. Now again, would Minnesota somehow, pull out another win, which they could do that, but I wouldn't be surprised. But I think 49ers, should get this one. All right, the Sunday nighter here, you got the Browns and the Ravens. Sid, you start this one.
Baltimore's favored by 5.5. Baker Mayfield and crew, they did not look good, and they barely got by the Detroit Lions. I think they said more about the lack of consistency for Cleveland's offense than the Detroit Lions. On the flip side, for Baltimore, they got away with one here in Chicago last Sunday. Thank you, Bears. Underachieving defense on that last drive. Good grief. Keep this short and sweet. This should be Baltimore's game to win.
I'm going to go Baltimore here, too. It's great that Lamar Jackson is feeling better, apparently. I wonder what the heck he was going through, if it wasn't COVID and if it wasn't the flu, but it sounds like he's doing better, and he's going to want the win here, especially for the home game and for Sunday night, that's for sure. So Baltimore.
It seemed like to me, real quick, Christine, it seemed like to me Baltimore knew what they were doing, trying to fool the Bears. They knew what they were doing all along.
Oh, yeah.
That was perfectly planned out.
Yeah. I think they were too. I think he might have had mono or something, but he looked better and he sounded better. So it looks like he's 125% now. So
yeah,
I think he wants to get back out there, and I think Cleveland, you barely beat the Lions. So, Baltimore will win this one, and they will pull away late. The Monday Nighter here, Seattle and Washington. Christine, you start this one.
I'm going to make this short and say Washington. They've really surprised me this year. I think since Russell Wilson got back, it hasn't really been quite the same. You know, you can do so much work off the field when you're injured, and he did do that. But since he's been back, I don't think it's totally sinking all the way with his O-line. I just don't think the chemistry is there at the moment because of those 6 weeks off. And I hate to say that too, because, you know, Russell's my fantasy QB. Of course I want him to win, but because how everything seemed just so off for them, I'm going to go with Washington.
Christine took the words right out of my mouth. Washington with an impressive win at Carolina last week.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're going to miss Chase Young. They're just still defensive end due to a torn ACL. But Washington showed me something last week. They can run the ball. They have a committee of running backs. Hopefully, Antonio Gibson, my guy, will do something on my fantasy team. I think I'm going to try to put him in my lineup. Seattle, as you mentioned, Christine, they couldn't get it going. I watched the entire game last week against the Cardinals. They couldn't get anything going, especially at the running game. So
yeah.
I know Seattle's favored by 3.5. I'm not going to fall for that nonsense. I'm going with Washington at home.
Yeah, I'm not gonna fall for it either. I think Washington should win this one, and Seattle, they just can't get anything right. You could tell that Russell Wilson is still somewhat off. You know, whether it's still a finger or maybe because the O-line, but they just don't look good at all. So I'm picking Washington, and so that should be an interesting one there on Monday night. And last but certainly least, I guess it depends on how you look at it. Bears and Lions. I'm gonna make it short and sweet. The Bears should win this one. You know, whether or not this ends up being Matt Nagy's last game, I think he'll go out somewhat of a winner. So I apologize to our the number one crew from Fox. You know, they have to watch this putridness, but I think the running game will be the key here, and I think David Montgomery will have a good showing. So, but I think the Bears should win this one, like maybe 9-6 or 10-6 or whatever.
Gosh, you know, first, it's nice to see Montgomery back. He probably, you know, was just trying to feel everything out, which is why the game wasn't what I thought it was going to be, especially with Montgomery back in there. But simply put, once you hear Lamar Jackson isn't playing, you should win that game. Period. Like there's no excuse for it. And I have to apologize now because I said at the middle of the game, probably about 3 minutes before Fields went out for whatever reason, I just said, let's just throw in Andy Dalton and see what he can do at this point, because it's got to be better than what this is. And sure enough, he got in. And right when he threw that touchdown, I knew he would be starting on Thanksgiving Day. I just said, that's it. Like, this is happening. Like, Dalton is going to start for Thanksgiving. So at this point, you might as well tell the Bears to lose the rest of the season so they can get a higher draft pick. That's my personal opinion. Just forfeit all the games. That's it. But here's the deal. If they lose against Detroit, I would not be surprised if we hear come Friday or even come Monday that Matt Nagy is gone. And that would be the first firing during the season for the Bears and not during the off season. But let me just say this. Football is a business. And of course, you never want to see anybody get fired from a job or from any position, regardless of how they're doing or that you're not satisfied with it. It's a terrible feeling, and I would never wish that upon anybody. So let's keep that in mind too. You never want to wish someone out the door. But I will say, for Nagy's sake, they better win this game or die trying. So for now, and because it's only Detroit, it's going to be the Bears, hopefully.
I'm going with the Bears as well, Christine. But I'll say this. Speaking of last week's loss, did you catch Jim Nance's call on that Goodwin touchdown? He damn near lost his voice. He was shot just like everybody else.
God, I can't believe it. I literally was like, this is what I wished for, and this is what I got. I'm looking at it right in front of me.
All right, and that's our Week 12 NFL picks. Join us again next week, and we'll give you our results, and we'll pick the games for Week 13 in the National Football League. We have a couple minutes left right here on Second City Sports. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone, along with Lakeena McGee and Christine Manika. I am Sydney Brown. Guys, let's wrap up this pre-Thanksgiving edition with reviewing the ballot for the 2021 Baseball Hall of Fame. Of course, I'll read off some of the names. Of course, Kurt Schilling, who did not want to be on the list, he's still on the list. I think this is last year on the list, along with Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens. But here's some of the new names that's going to be on the list this year. Bobby Abreu, former White Sox pitcher Mark Burley, A.J. Burnett, Michael Kadire, Dan Herron, LaTroy Hawkins, Todd Helton, Tim Hudson, Torrey Hunter, Andrew Jones. He was part of the White Sox in 2010. Jeff Kent, Andy Pettit, Aramis Ramirez, one-time Cub from that 03 choking team. Man Ram, Manny Ramirez, Scott Rowland, Barry Zito, Billy Wagner, Omar Vizquel, one-time White Sox player, by the way. Shane Victorino, Nick Swisher from that 08 White Sox team. And Sammy Sosa. I think this is his last year on the ballot as well.
Boy.
Do you see any of those guys going in to the Baseball Hall of Fame?
I think it's Mark Burley's time.
You think so? On the first ballot?
So.
First ballot?
It wouldn't be surprising. He's a great guy. I mean, over him and Nick Swisher, yeah, I would say give it to Mark Burley. Give it to Mark Burley. I would also say I loved Omar Vizquel when he was on the White Sox. I really did. I think at the time, wasn't he the oldest baseball player in the league? Something like that.
I think so at one time.
Yeah. So more the reason to give it to him, because that's just amazing in itself. I believe, what was it? He was 44, 45 when he was playing with the White Sox. So that's just impressive.
Yeah, typical White Sox. Kenny Williams getting those folks at the end of the career. Roberto Alomar, Carl Everett, which paid off in 05. But Man Ram, I forgot it was Andrew Jones that read off. That was at the end of their careers. Let's see if we can squeeze something out of him. Remember Ken Griffey Jr. as well? In 08? Oh, boy.
Gosh, and Nick Swisher, I haven't heard that. I forgot he existed. I forgot he was even in baseball. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right, Nick Swisher.
Yeah, he started off his White Sox career on a very high note. Remembering that 08 team that won the division. He was a surprise leadoff hitter, but then his average drop, he started complaining like a baby, and then we never heard from him again.
No, that's why I forgot about him.
Exactly.
I think his jersey standing up behind you.
I think Burley will get it eventually. I don't know if he'll get in the first ballot. I think Todd Helton might be one of those guys that might have the best shot of getting in the first ballot, because he still holds a lot of the records for the Rockies. So I think everyone else, I think Burley will get it eventually. Maybe not, first couple of years. Maybe
I was going to say.
Shea Victorino, just Shea Victorino, maybe he might get in with in the first 2-3 years, but everyone else, I think they might have to wait a few years.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Andy Pettit may have the next best shot of getting in the first ballot. I know he was accused of the steroid thing as well, along with his buddy Roger Clemens, but I think he's the next one to maybe have the best chance of getting in first ballot. Like I said, Mark Burley will get in eventually, but I think Todd Helton is the first ballot Hall of Famer for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So
now, will Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens finally get in? Because this is their last year for both of them on the ballot. Do you think either one of those guys get in or both get in?
I think Bonds should get in, maybe by the slimmest of margins. I feel like.
I agree, Christine.
Yeah, I agree with Lakeena and with you, Sid. It's just. Steroid use nowadays, it's taking so seriously, and I think people wouldn't favor Roger being in it at this point, but by a slim chance it could happen. It could.
But remember when those guys were playing, it was legal. So that's in their favor.
Yeah, that's probably why all these people are being all perfect and stuff. And apparently Aaron Rodgers showed his toe to everybody, his feet to everyone. So that's all right. Real quick before we disperse, favorite go-to Thanksgiving side dish?
Green bean casserole.
You know, macaroni and cheese. We talked about it earlier, Lakeena.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yes. Oh yeah. Matthew Judah. You haven't had any good macaroni and cheese, my friend. You haven't had any good ones, dude. All right. On that note, you follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
Shout out to a good friend, Mondo. He says stuffing, so nothing wrong with that. They'll probably
wrong with that
be
either,
second
yeah.
or third on the list for me. Oh, you can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, aka Sid the Kid, on Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. SIDKIDA0. SIDKIDA0. I'm a few follows away from hitting 1K. Come on, help a brother out. Christine, where can people follow you on the social media circuit?
And they can follow me at _KXRB right down there. Right.
All right.
All right, folks. So enjoy your Thanksgiving holiday, everybody, and also the Black Friday too. So, be safe doing all of that and be good to each other. For Sid and Christine, I'm Lakeena. This is Second City Sports on Sports Soul Chicago, and we'll see you guys next week. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving, and I guess go Bears. Holla.
Oh boy.